of the Social Studies Department in Clayton County Public Schools is to teach our students to be responsible and active citizens when they move on from their school time into the real world. And we, of course, are bound, and our program is grown through the Georgia Performance Standards, which, of course, begin in kindergarten and go all the way through the 12th grade. And it's really a progression that broadens as they start with the basics in kindergarten. They begin with symbols, those important historical figures. And there's a couple main strands. There is history, geography, political science, and economics. And these themes play out really from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade.
We want them to understand about geography, our place in the world, where things are located. We want them to know about government and civics. And we want them to have an understanding of economics. So as you start with kindergarten, we start at a simpler level, and it builds as you get up to the older grade levels. Now, social studies was the last area to be added to the Georgia Performance Standards. And as a teacher, I was very glad to see the change because there was a lot of repetition in our old curriculum. And in this curriculum, the historical figures, the people we want children to focus on learning about, have been divided up through the grade level. So the children aren't learning the same people over and over and over. So it builds, as far as the historical understandings, that builds in the map skills, it builds in the information processing skills, but we're not having repetition of the same historical events in the different grade levels. In the kindergarten, we start with our basic symbols. We want children to know about the flag. We want them to know about the symbols of our country. Really basic map skills like the water is usually blue. We look at some people that were important in our history, our president, people like that. We try to keep things simple. As we move forward into first grade, again, we're building on those symbols of our country. We want a patriotism of the economy. In the second grade, there's more of a focus on American history, and we look at the origins in Georgia. We look at the Creek and the Cherokee Indians to help the children understand where we've come from. Also, when we continue into the third grade, we want the children to understand more about our government. So we focus on the origins of democracy, on ancient Greece and Rome, so that our children understand where that came from and where the beginnings of our three branches of government came from. In the fourth grade, the children are really working on historical understandings of how our country started, the explorers who came to our country, the signers of the Constitution, how things began in the American Revolution. In the fifth grade, students learn about the Civil War. They learn about World War I. They continue and learn about the Great Depression, the stock market crash. Then they get into World War II and events of the Cold War and events since that time, including the War on Terror. It's a lot of information, but our main focus in social studies is to help our children become researchers, because you can't learn everything there is to learn, but you can learn how to find out about everything there is to learn. So if you learn how to be a good researcher and find out information, if you don't know it, you can find it out. And part of what we do with that is encourage our children to do social studies fair projects in the fourth and fifth grade, and our fifth graders can continue to the social studies fair. We teach our children to use not only secondary sources, but primary sources. Hopefully they'll look at original photographs that they can find perhaps on the internet, or they can interview somebody about being in a homeless shelter if they were studying the conditions of the homeless. They might do a survey of their classmates and do that kind of original research, helping them to understand that they can find out the information. They don't just have to find it in a book or in an encyclopedia or on the internet, but they can research and they can draw their own conclusions and become critical thinkers in the area of social studies. And after all, that's what we want all of our children to do, be productive citizens who can think for themselves.
The middle school program in social studies is actually divided up into two areas. In 6th and 7th grade, it's a world studies program. In 6th grade, it includes Latin America, Canada, Australia, and Europe. In 7th grade, they move into Africa and Asia. They study the 4 domains, starting with geography, both human and physical geography, civics and government, history, and economics. As students move into 8th grade, we bring the focus back to U.S. history. The course is called Georgia History, which allows us to focus on what happened in Georgia going back all the way to the prehistoric Indians, first exploring the area, moving through colonization, into American history, all the way up through present day. A lot of what we do builds on what they've talked about in elementary school. So we talk about the Cherokees and the Creeks and their influence on colonization, and then how they were actually removed from the area. We talk about, the major wars, the Civil War, both World Wars, and through modern day. And what's nice about the 6th and 7th grade curriculum is it really allows our teachers to bring in a lot of current events as they talk about human geography, especially in 7th grade with Africa and the Middle East, with Asia. They do a lot with drawing in current events and map skills and primary sources. We focus on a lot of research skills, so the students work on social studies fair projects. We have a social studies fair at our school, and then we take our best projects onto the county fair. We also hold a geography bee in our classrooms, and we hold a school level bee, which allows one of our students to take a test to qualify for the state geography bee and possibly the national geography bee, which is sponsored by National Geographic.
The social studies program for high school in Clayton County really builds off what students have already learned in elementary and middle school. By the time they get to high school, the skills that they've learned, they should be mastering and applying in high school social studies. So in the 9th grade, we start with world history, which is a year. In 10th grade, students take American government and civics, which also is a year, which is a little different from what other counties do. So we offer American government and civics for the entire year instead of one semester. In 11th grade, they take a year of U.S. history, which is kind of similar to elementary school in that the first semester is the colonial era up until 1865, the Civil War, and then the second semester is usually around the ending of the Civil War with Reconstruction to present day. And then in the 12th grade, we also do something a little bit different with economics. We offer it for a full year instead of one semester. The Advanced Placement Program is a unique opportunity for our high school students to earn college credit through their social studies classes. So we start with AP World History in the 9th grade. Students can take AP Government in 10th grade, AP U.S. History in 11th grade, and their senior year they have several options. They can take AP Psychology, AP Economics, as well as some electives that we offer. The IB program is another unique opportunity for high school students to be exposed to the rigor of college-level work. The IB curriculum is slightly different in that students take classes that are geared towards certain content areas. They take a philosophy class. Students take a critical thinking class. They also take a class called History of America. So the IB curriculum is somewhat different and has a more international focus, and the students get that in addition to their regular curriculum classes that Clayton County requires. Our high school students also have many opportunities to apply what they learn in the classroom to some co-curricular and extracurricular activities. One of the things that's really big at several of the high schools is mock trial, so students can use their understanding of law and government there, as well as those critical thinking skills, building an argument and supporting that argument. Students also can participate in the Governor's Honors Program in social studies, as well as the social studies fair, which they also participate in elementary school and middle school.
One of the other main goals of the Social Studies Department in Clayton County Public Schools is to prepare our students for the high-stakes tests that they have to face along the way. And students in the Social Studies Department will take the CRCT in grades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and those are content specific. So whatever they are specifically learning, the curriculum they're learning in that grade level, they'll be taking a content-aligned CRCT. At the high school level, they're going to take 3 major tests. They're going to take the Georgia High School graduation test in their 11th grade year, and that's going to focus on the domains of world history, government, U.S. history, and geography, which is infused throughout. And of course, the two other tests they're going to take are their end-of-course tests, which they take an end-of-course test in U.S. history, and also a end-of-course test in economics. That would be the 11th and the 12th grade. Something that we really pride ourselves on in the Social Studies Department in Clayton County Public Schools is the vertical and horizontal alignment. The Georgia Performance Standards truly build on themselves, so the students throughout their progression K-12 are going to see a lot of the same standards. They're going to see the same content, but it's built upon. It's going to be more rigorous, and so that's another thing that we've really tried to infuse rigor in the classroom with the activities. When you walk into a social studies classroom, you're going to see a lot of differentiation. You're going to see role playing. You're going to see a lot of the different standards and elements of rigor.